Who taught you, please, who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such an extent that you bleach to get like the white man?
But he's just not a teacher. Black people now want to be taught. They don't want to be just spoken to. They want to learn something now. They want to clear the smoke.
So what is his purpose?
You have to ask him that. You can't ask me what his minutes of Farrakhan service. You have to go to him and ask him that.
This is the sun. As far back as 10,000 BC, history is abundant with carvings and writings reflecting people's respect and adoration for this object. And it is simple to understand why, as every morning the sun would rise, bringing vision, warmth, and security, saving man from the cold, blind, predator-filled darkness of night. Without it, the cultures understood the crops would not grow and life on the planet would not survive. These realities made the sun the most adored object of all time. Likewise, they were also very aware of the stars. The tracking of the stars allowed them to recognize and anticipate events which occurred over long periods of time, such as eclipses and full moons. They in turn cataloged celestial groups into what we know today as constellations. This is the cross of the zodiac, one of the oldest conceptual images in human history. It reflects the sun as it figuratively passes through the 12 major constellations over the course of a year. It also reflects the 12 months of the year, the 4 seasons, and the solstices and equinoxes. The term zodiac relates to the fact that constellations were anthropomorphized, or personified, as figures or animals. In other words, the early civilizations did not just follow the sun and stars, they personified them with elaborate myths involving their movements and relationships. The sun, with its life-giving and saving qualities, was personified as a representative of the unseen creator or God, God's Son, the light of the world, the savior of humankind. Likewise, the 12 constellations represented places of travel for God's Son, and were identified by names, usually representing elements of nature that happened during that period of time. For example, Aquarius, the water bearer, who brings the spring rains. This is Horus. He is the sun god of Egypt of around 3000 BC. He is the sun anthropomorphized, and his life is a series of allegorical myths involving the sun's movement in the sky. From the ancient hieroglyphics in Egypt, we know much about this solar messiah. For instance, Horus, being the sun or the light, had an enemy known as Set, and Set was the personification of the darkness or night. And, metaphorically speaking, every morning Horus would win the battle against Set, while in the evening Set would conquer Horus and send him into the underworld. It is important to note that dark versus light, or good versus evil, is one of the most ubiquitous mythological dualities ever known, and is still expressed on many levels to this day. Broadly speaking, the story of Horus is as follows. Horus was born on December 25th of the Virgin Isis Mary. His birth was accompanied by a star in the east, and upon his birth he was adored by 3 kings. At the age of 12, he was a prodigal child teacher. And at the age of 30, he was baptized by a figure known as Anup, and thus began his ministry. Horace had 12 disciples he traveled about with, performing miracles such as healing the sick and walking on water. Horace was known by many gestural names such as the Truth, the Light, God's Anointed Son, the Good Shepherd, the Lamb of God, and many others. After being betrayed by Typhon, Horace was crucified, buried for 3 days, and thus resurrected.
Peace, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, yeah, I hear you good.
All right, cool.
Oh, yeah,
I was
we hear
very
you.
about the headset. What's going on, everybody? Before we get started, man, I want to give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves. Blackbeard with us last week. Abundance Flow, big bro. Talk to the family. Tell them who you are, bro.
Hey, man. Jacoby Ponder, man. Childhood friend of mine. Hey, look, I seen him on the spiritual journey, and I was on it at the same time, and it was like perfect timing, man. Same alignment, same frequency. Like we just hit the ground running, and I seen a brother from the same hometown I was from on that same energy. Like, man, we got the bill, cause like everything I was researching and downloading and understanding, you was speaking it too. And
Yes, sir.
some of the teachers and some of the elders, we both was up under studying and everything, bro. So it was a beautiful thing.
For
So
sure, for
like I
sure.
said, I'm glad we're picking up where we left off at.
Hey, man, I appreciate you taking time to come on here and join us. And he's being modest, but the brother got some game, as you're gonna see tonight. Great value to add. I think this is the perfect subject to bring him in on. And then, good brother, Blackbeard, tell people who you are, man. Tap in.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? So, it's your boy Blackbeard Mirage. Just your fellow American out here standing up, coming up, making America great again with, putting the history back in its proper place. And it's just about time that we put our own narrative out there and do our best to be as accurate as we can and tell our own story, and be as non-biased as possible.
For
But
sure.
I'm just one of the brothers out here that's part of this, I guess you could say modern enlightenment. And it's good to be back. Salute to everybody in chat. This gonna definitely be a good show.
For sure. And tell everybody about your book, bro. You got a book out.
Yeah. Well, I have a book. Actually, right now we're working on publishing another one. And that's the one that we more so gonna push. It's more so just a dark romantic story involving a lot of the American history and just adding elements, characters, events, settings, environments, so you can, the history can come to life. So that'll be publishing coming out sometime in the spring, maybe about a month or two or something like that. But definitely look forward to that. And we got more information coming out with it.
For sure. So before we get started, of course, we got a couple of house rules. We got to hop into the chat and shout the chat out. They tapped in early like yesterday. Chat was already tapping in. What's going on? Mansa Musa. See the whole thing. Bugatti Death 9 Ether. Mansa Musa L in the building. The L's in the bays of the wheels and the ways, man. Peace and love. Solo, you changed the name. It was Solo 5000, I thought, but that's what's up, brother. Solo always in the building, showing love, man. True King 357 always in the building, man. Shouts out to the brothers on the square. Always tapping in with your boy, man. Peace and love. Sis in the building. Appreciate you for tapping in, of course. And y'all know we just getting started, man. Peace and love, brother. Man, I got listen. Hit that bell, man. Hit that bell so you can get the notification. That's the important thing. And what I'm gonna try to start doing from now on, which I should have been doing anyway, is setting up the live in advance, a day or two in ahead of time, so you guys can get the notification. But hit that bell, man. Definitely share it. Let's see how many people we can get into the chat tonight. And as always, if you're interested in joining the platform live with us, let me know. I'll shoot you the actual link to add value to it. I don't think too many other people are doing that right now. So we're not the final authorities on this. This is information, y'all. Y'all already know. Get your pen and your paper. Take notes. I'm not here to persuade you or convince anybody. This is just information. Do your own research, of course. What's going on? Shalom. Peace and love to you, brother. Peace, family. Oh, the chat is tapping in. Info Monger, it's tapping. Listen, right after this right here, I gotta hop over to Info Monger and get with them as well, man. And tap in with them also. So listen, let's dive in. You already know I got the agenda, and of course, as always, we're not gonna follow this damn agenda, but we're gonna do our best. This to keep us honest. If you want a copy of this, shoot me an email. I'll send you this right here. We're gonna try to stick to this narrative. I took some notes earlier, did a little bit of research, and we're gonna just try to dive in on the truth of who this character is. Um, I think I'm gonna let the good brother Blackbeard kick it off. Give us the information about what you know about this character.
That's a very great question. So, I would say that this character is probably the most one of the most interesting and revered people of human history. And there is a lot of mystery surrounding this character. But just a real basic overview. When I research the story of Jesus Christ, it was distributed by the Romans via the religion of Christianity. And in the story, you have an Israelite man who came to reform the religion because during his time period, the Israelite priests and leadership had somewhat corrupted it. And there were also a lot of other religions being, practiced around during that time. And the holy city of Jerusalem was being colonized by the Romans. So it's already kind of easy to see that an archetype of a leader or a hero would rise in that time. Like just like right now in the United States, it's a lot of like political turmoil and stuff like that. So when you got people that's part of the society starting to rise and say things that people around them can obviously see and agree with, people are gonna start to huddle around that person. So this character, Jesus, he appears and seems to be that type of person. When you read in the New Testament, you'll learn that he got his original message from some of the people that were before him, like John the Baptist. And his message basically was trying to get back to the original Semitic message, which was, like as we saw in the video you played when it first started, to cut out the anthropomorphism. And then the priesthood during his day had, made it very ceremonial and ritualistic.
Yeah.
So, you had this guy who he was preaching this message, and he started to be deemed as a threat by not only the Israelite leadership, the religious leaders, but also the Roman officials. So, when you got a nation of people and you're trying to keep them colonized, you got to get the troublemakers out of the way. And even the name Jesus, it appears to be a common name for Israelites during that time period as well. So I know a lot of, probably what I could say is going to be unraveled as the video goes on, but I do just want to start it with he was an Israelite reformer who rise in Jerusalem during the time of Roman captivity. And his message was appealing to a lot of the people of that time, and they consolidated around him. And the Israelite leadership, as well as the Roman leadership, they saw this guy as a problem. And I believe this man was taken out. And, after he was taken out, the construct of whoever he was and whatever these real events were was used as a template to later on create a religion.
Damn.
And I give it to you, bro.
Well said. D, bro, what do you think, bro?
Okay, the modern day Jesus what I grew up on, or what my consciousness at now?
No, give me the consciousness, brother.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, we're gonna go from there. Then is the version of Jesus I know is the one that's within me. All right, that's the one that's within me. And as the Bible say, Jesus even quoted say, "You're gonna do greater things than I did." All right, so my thing about me and my search was about understanding the esoteric and the mystic version of what Jesus is and what he was doing, because we have the power to heal, we have the power to foresee things. So it's like more so representing a figure. How about we embody that energy, which that's what Christ is, though. It's a form of energy that we can embody. They're just like the devil. We both have both of those energy within us. And another thing that of a search on the Melchizedek story as well, because that took me down the rabbit hole of just having a energy or figure with no beginning or no ending, just bam, happen to be in the midst. So it just a lot of these mystical things took me on this spiritual journey. Like, hold up, man, like we don't supposed to be serving this figure. We supposed to be transforming into this being. and going out here to change people and help people. How the church ain't doing it. They you go in there, they talking about, praying to Big Daddy and the Sky Man, but these Buddhas are telling you you are Buddha. That energy in you. So I'm like,
mm,
whoa, now what energy is telling you you are God, and the other one tell you it's a man in the sky you can't even reach. You know what I mean? You don't belong there
mm.
until you die. So I was like, nah, something ain't right, y'all. So I started looking within, and all the puzzles started coming together. Is this Jesus figure they took out of us and put in the sky? So now they told us to fear this being, and you know what I mean? It was just a lot of tugging and turning, bro. And I had to get still and go within. I'm like, man, Christ is in me. I don't
Mm,
need a pastor to tell me this. I really don't need a book.
mm.
You know what I mean? It's written. Your laws are written in you. We just
So,
got to get still.
and I'm gonna cut your wisdom, but listen.
Okay, go
So,
ahead. Go ahead.
no, you're absolutely fine. I like how it's kicking off. So, and that's the reason I had thought so hard about now who can I add to this live, to give us, a diverse perspective. I know brother I'm sorry, yeah, Blackbeard's gonna give us the historical religious version of it. The brother's well versed in that, and I already know who you deal with your conscience anyway. So I said so what can be my dynamic in this perfect trifecta we got going on right here? And I wanted to get you guys to speak your part first. I think the perspective I'm going to come with is the historical narrative, and of course, by the end of this, I'm going to go off planet with it because I think both of you guys have a good point about who this person was. You know, and as my teacher, uh, Imam Isa, had taught us, when you first get that book, only read what he said, then go back and read what his father said. And I think when I did that, I got a whole different perspective on the character, the meaning, the lessons behind everything. And what I also found is when I have conversations a lot of time with believers of the faith of Christians, um, they know very little about it because of the approach to it. You know, they're led to I think worship and believe in the entity versus understanding the messages that he brought. One thing I learned in the Moore Science Temple that I really didn't get to after the fact, that a brother used to say, he said Jesus came to demonstrate the possibilities of man. He was here to demonstrate the possibilities of man. Like, this is what you can do. To your point, bro, you said earlier when Jesus said, you're going to go and do greater things than I. He came to demonstrate the possibilities, like the God within or the Christ consciousness within.
Hey,
Um,
another brother that came with the science as well was C. Freeman L. with the 12 Powers of
oh
Man.
man,
He bought it
Yeah.
too. Brother bought that. That he if you study him, he
man,
was a messenger too that came with that Christ-like energy. He helped
man.
me too now. Shout
C
out to
Freeman
C. Freeman
L.
L too now.
C
Shout out
Freeman
to that
L
brother.
dropped so much heat, man.
What?
I was in awe with this brother here, man. Um, of just the information he brought. He was the one that showed me how to break down what the Moorish Science Temple, they call it the Circle Seven, and he said it's not even a circle; it's a quadrant. It's broke down into four different quadrants.
Yes, that's
He
why
broke
you
down
had
the
them
different
outer.
quadrants.
That's
Man,
why you had the different outer parts on it. The soft, the like different
let me show
what
the
it
chat. We're
called
talking
in the
about.
what it's called in the Kabbalah. They call them spheres or something.
Yeah,
Several, yeah.
Yeah,
And even to add to you all's point, because a lot of people, like we say with the Jesus story, it's a lot of mystery behind it. And of course, you got the historical question. But I think what's more important is what the brother was talking about are the esoteric messages that he really was trying to teach the people that
mm,
will be found like in the Gospel of Thomas and the different Nag Hammadi texts that were found in the deserts of Egypt.
man.
But
My. Oh, go ahead, bro.
no. I was just saying, just to add to your point, like we need to be more so trying to extract what were these parables, these metaphors, these messages he was trying to give us, and see how we can apply that to our own lives. Because the real man Jesus was trying to get the people to acknowledge their own soul, and to transition into that higher self. So yeah,
now should we even use that designation though? That name
um,
because
that
because
name Jesus.
yeah, I mean, I'll get back to my point in a minute because there were over 5 characters in the book with that same name, and
Right.
of that 5, one was same attributes. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
But it's interesting though. Like I think that's why they distinguish him. They'll say Jesus of Nazareth, or they may say Jesus the Ebionite, or they may say Jesus son of Mary. So
So who are the Christians praying to then, bro? So that's my thing. Like
you got
we
you
in the
got a good
church,
question. Yeah.
who are they praying to? Like on every first Sunday communion when they doing that vampirism and cannibalism, eating the blood
Right.
and drinking, you know what I mean, eating the body, drinking the blood of this
Right.
Jesus figure. But what Jesus is it? You know what I mean? Is it a
Yeah.
lesser God? What energy are they keeping bound? Because look at our situation now. To this day, for us to be praying all the time and we still in this same condition.
Right.
So that's my thing. Are we
And
praying to the
and
wrong God or what?
and I believe the people are doing that because the video in the beginning, when it was showing you Horus and some of the other, we'll say, ancient sun gods that was acknowledging all civilizations might have had, and these attributes of him being born on December 25th, rising during the spring equinox, being a virgin mother. See, these attributes existed with these Messiah or Christ figures thousands of years before the birth of, Jesus, we'll say the Hebrew. And a lot of those attributes we've been given to those false gods there is last verse. So you are right. Like what energy, I mean, where are the people giving their attention to when they pray to this entity or thought form or egregore called Jesus Christ? So yeah, you're right.
so let me interject for a second, and because you brought up the fact of the ancient Egyptian Enads, or Enads or deities, and this is one that was earlier on during the invasion of the Greeks that I have on the screen right now. What was interesting about Serapis, which was a combination of Apis and Osiris. Serapis was created by um, Ptolemy Soter, Soter for the chat, Soter, the Savior. That's where that word comes from, Soter. And Ptolemy Soter created this entity by the name of Serapis Christos, and the worshippers of Serapis were called Christians. This is BC, family, 3rd century BC. They were called Christians. Those who are devotees of the god Serapis or Serapis called themselves bishops of Christ. On the other hand, it says, hold on. Yeah, on the other hand, it says, some have pointed out that Christians were another name for something else, but these people, the cult of Serapis, were all called Christians. And you see the image right here before you. This image was out long before the religion itself came out. And this image is something called iconocladism. If you guys want to write that down, iconocladism.
Hey, was it before Alexander the Greek or afterwards?
Alexander the Macedonian, he wasn't a Greek. Alexander the Macedonian came into Egypt in the 3rd century BC. Didn't stay long. He left his general Ptolemy I Soter in Egypt, and Ptolemy was. Now this is the first time the Greeks come into Egypt, according to Professor Walter Williams, the historical origin of Christianity. He said that this is the first time that the Greeks had came into Egypt, and this is how the Greek got their alphabeta or their alphabet. Because at the time in Egypt, you had the hieroglyphics, you had the metaneter, and you had the hieratic and demotic form of writing. The Greeks took the demotic form of writing and applied their language to it, which gave you the Greek alphabeta or alphabet, right? And once that happened, Ptolemy Soter marveled at the setup of Egypt, and he began to shut down all the temples in Egypt. And the Melkite Coptic Egyptians, Melkit, Melkite Coptic priests. These are your first bishops, by the way. The first bishops out of Egypt, they began to converge with Ptolemy, and he took 2 of the deities, Apis and Osiris, and created this entity called Oserapis, or Serapis Christos. So to answer your question, once Alexander left Egypt, his general Ptolemy remained in Egypt, created this image right here called Serapis Christos. Then his son His son, Ptolemy Philadelphia, I'm sorry, Ptolemy Eugetes one, had the Hebrew priests take the Torah and converted it into what was known as the Septuagint, and the Septuagint became the script for the Codex. What is it called? The Codex Siraticus. The Codex Siraticus was created, and then the Codex Siraticus was converted into Latin, which gives you the Vulgate Bible. And then from the Vulgate Bible, it was reinterpreted back into Greek by Justice Erasmus. So this is the origin that I'm talking about. This is before the council meetings. Now, once the council meetings happen, we'll get into that a little bit later. The council meetings, they had to create the story or the tagline of this entity. My question to you guys is, how do you separate the two? Or are you guys familiar with this image in front of you right now as it relates to the story of who we're talking about, Jesus of Nazareth? This is pre, and they were called Christians before.
Yeah, it's very, very familiar because I mean, let's also think about this.
And this is Egypt, by the way. This ain't in Jerusalem, but this is Egypt right here. Continue.
Right. But when you were talking, it just made me think about the concept of a Hellenized Jew. And as you say, after Alexander the Macedonian came in and his generals took over certain areas, you had that Hellenistic period where a lot of the Grecian influence started to make its way around the Mediterranean, the Levant, and it even infiltrated its way into Egypt. So in order to get all these people who were from different nations and different backgrounds to live under one rule, they would take these different gods that they were all used to and then create these composite gods or these hybrid gods. And this is one of the early ones that you showing right here. This is one of those initial false entities that Hellenized Jews, who were like the forefathers, the people like Paul, worshiped. And this led to the Maccabean revolt. If I remember correctly, I think it was Antiochus the Fourth tried to even have the Israelites perform a pagan sacrifice in their temple. So yeah, you're going into laying that groundwork that was used to help the Jesus story later on, because the Greeks were before the Romans.
So now again, here's my story. I mean, here's my question then. Without this individual being created, would there be a narrative for you to talk about biblically? And are these two the same character?
See, it's almost like building a pyramid. Like you got to lay the blocks at the bottom and build on top of them as time goes on. So the Jesus Christ character that we're familiar with today is the end result of this initial building block of this entity that you're showing us right here. So they've been working on it for, I would say, even before the Greeks, because when you were showing Horus, some of those attributes was even used. So it is the same entity. It just shape shifts through the generations. It may change names, but I guess that archetype of that Zeus figure with the flowing hair and the beard, which originally was melanated, even, this is the template image that they wanted to use for the Jesus Christ character. So I would say it is. It's the same. Yeah.
Hey, what brother was saying though, man, it's a saying that I realized stepping back was part of learning the entire dance move. So sometimes you got to step back and go back in time to put everything together. Like you said, all this Jesus today, it leads all the way back to everything. Brother just went back to the Egypt days, the Kemet days, Serapis. All this is ground building to what we at now in modern day 2026. So for all our Christian brothers and sisters, y'all have to get rid of that card of dissonance, because they're gonna kick in. Trust me, when I was going down that path, card of dissonance was eating me up, and I had to fight against Satan, because that's all it was. It was new information I wasn't used to, but like I knew I was attached to it. I just had to open up and have discernment. So I'm telling you, man, if y'all listening, tap in, y'all. This is worth a bill right here. So
So now, brother Blackbeard, explain to us the connection of the, dare I say, the Hebrew Israelite connection as it relates to the character Jesus? What's their connection to him?
That's an excellent question. So let's go back to the time of captivity in Egypt. The Israelites were led out of Egypt by Moses, who had certain military experience because when they were in the wilderness, the Israelites had to get a plan to go into Canaan and sack Canaan because that was going to be their alleged promised land. And they ended up with Joshua, who was one of the younger men under Moses. And Joshua and Caleb led the Israelites on a military campaign into the Holy Land. So the Israelites, since the ancient world, had a concept of their Messiah being a more like a military general or a war leader. And when the Babylonians destroyed the Israelites and took them into captivity, they were anticipating this Messiah figure showing up, but him being a warrior, him being like a military general. So they were looking for him, right? So so the connection to the ancient Hebrews and the Jesus Christ character is before he showed up, they were already anticipating somebody coming to help them because they were tired of the Grecian captivity. They were tired of being under the Roman captivity. And the Israelites was constantly rebelling against the Romans. So they would wait for somebody to rise up as a Messiah and lead them into war against the Romans. But when the Jesus character that we're all familiar with showed up, I'm not saying that he wasn't warrior-like, but majority of his message, they didn't agree with it. Like they wanted somebody coming back slicing and dicing with the sword like Joshua, whereas Jesus came back and his message was more to get the people's spiritual internal self to evolve. And if a time of conflict comes, it'll come. But he wasn't that warrior like Joshua was when they went into the Holy Land. And that was one of the reasons why a lot of the Israelites people didn't rock with him, because they looking at it like, man, we in Roman captivity. These Romans is hanging people, crucifying people. We need somebody that's slicing and dicing. We need a David. We need a Samson. We need somebody who's used to warfare. Remember, think about how David killed Goliath. Samson going against the Philistines. Whenever the Israelite people were in trouble, they were used to a warrior rising up in their society to come help them. But Jesus didn't come as that. He was more of like a poet. He was a prophet, Messiah, but he was more like a poet. And his message was more for like the internal spiritual development of the people. And unfortunately, people didn't like that. They didn't want to accept that. So they didn't deem him to be a leader.
Great point. Now, I just want to interject for a second because I think this is what most Christians do. They paint him as this poetic entity, and he wasn't. This is Jesus talking right here. But whomsoever shall deny me before men, him I will also deny him before my Father which is in heaven. This is what he said, quote, think not that I came to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I come to set man at variance against his father, daughter against his mother, and the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law, and so on and so forth. Jesus didn't come for no peace.
Hey, that's the New Testament Jesus too, ain't it? He bought the body.
Right. He said, I didn't come for no peace. But
that NBA young boy Jesus right there. What's wrong
but see,
that's how they
read
paint him.
that though.
This poet, this dude was a rebel, man. This dude was a rebel without with a cause, but he was a rebel, and he constantly confronted the Pharisees. You know what I'm saying? He constantly confronted people going into the temple acting up. Like he constantly. This dude was not this flowy hair poetic peace and love. No. It might be one of them other Jesus we mentioned, but not this one.
But even in him, but even in him being that way, he wasn't as cutthroat enough as like David and Joshua and them were. So you are correct. Like he wasn't just this person that's doing a bunch of talking. But when you look at that Old Testament, man, like them folks went on no poetry. Like they was slicing and dicing. When David wrote Psalms and all that, that was when Goliath's head was already on the stick. So them folks got to killing before they start writing and doing any poetry. So I guess when Jesus showed up, they were more so looking for that. That's why I mentioned that.
No, and I understand your point on that too as well. But I also want to mention that we have to understand that those prophets and whoever of the old were under a different priesthood. They were under the Levitical priesthood. Jesus was not under that same priesthood. Jesus was under the priesthood of Melchizedek or Michael or Melchizedek. This is two different priesthoods. But so the Levitical priesthood, yeah, you do get people like Joshua, Haggai, Zerubbabel, and Solomon, and da da da, and so forth. And they work like that. They were these war type figures. But Jesus was like, man, look, I got a power y'all ain't even seen yet. I got the power to take all y'all out if I really wanted to, but I'm not here to teach that. So I just think when people start to paint him as this poetic guy under the tree writing poetry, eating apples and eating, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Like, it's like, nah, man, that's the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Let me show this other guy and what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, we can move on past the point, but I just wanted to make that point so the audience understand that the Isa El Mariam, or whatever you want to call him, he was not that type of person. Um, he was definitely about his father's business. Like he wasn't here to play with
So
nobody.
so could it be the other Jesus? You know, you got the Jesus of Nazareth, the Barbea Jesus. Can this be one of the Jesus that you mentioned? We just got to put them in a correct category as to speak.
Well, let's go back to that. I'm glad you brought that up. It says the Jesus of Nazareth, the Messiah. Um, this is the Jesus most people mean, but the New Testament itself is carefully distinguish him from the others in the same name. The Gospel of John 1:41, we have found the Messiah, which is translated as Christ. I want you to write that point down too. The transliteration of the term itself, Messiah. This word comes from the Egyptian word Mashiach, which means alligator fat, where they would take the oil of the alligator and melt the fat, and melt it
Right.
down, and they would anoint the Mashiach. This is the word Mashiach. And we know the term Christ or Christos is an Egyptian variation of that. But this is what Simon said in John 1:41 said, oh, we have found the Messiah, which is translated as Christ. So I think people are getting lost on the transliteration of who it is, whether they call him the Messiah or the messenger, right? The name Yeshua, title Mashiach, it says Mashiach is the Hebrew word, anointed one, which is the Greek word. Christ is not his last name. I think a lot of believers, older people, think this is last. Like his last name is Christ. They really think that the dude had last names. Only Christians have last names, okay? And he was not a Christian. We understand that. Now Barabbas, Jesus Barabbas, or Bar, Bar, or Ben, means son of. Son of. There's a saying in Hebrew when they say all Ben Israel, Ben Israel, all sons of Israel, Ben or Bar. So when you see the word Bar or Ban, that means son of. This is the figure who was on trial with Jesus, and I think what's his name? Pilate asked, "Who should we let free?
Hmm.
Jesus Barabbas or Jesus the Messiah or Jesus of Nazareth?" Nobody knows which one he got let free, or do we? Because the story goes on to say that Jesus of Nazareth was held in captivity, carried across, crucified on Golgotha, I think it's called, the
Hmm.
skull,
Hmm.
and the individual on the cross cried out to his father, and he said, "Forgive them, and know not what they done." He hung his head, and his spirit ascended. Is that how the story goes? I got that right?
No, yeah, yeah. From what we were told.
Now, the next
Yeah.
day, which would be Saturday, the Sabbath, Mary Magdalene comes to the cave. She witnesses two angelic beings. They ask her, "Why are you looking for the living amongst the dead?" And there was a figure who was talking to her. The Bible said he was dressed as a gardener. And his figure, as she went out to touch him, said, "Do not touch me. I have not yet ascended." So this was the confusing part for me. I said, wait a minute. The person on the cross already ascended. Who is this figure right here talking to her right now? And that's when I went into to understand, like, okay, wait a minute. And we haven't even got to Jesus' elements yet. Jesus' elements is the one that Paul came across. And he was a,
Oh, hold on. Got slow down for the
my
people,
bad, bro. Go ahead.
in the back. Cause you said, hold up, this the man that, hold on, cause look now, cause we coming up on Easter now, so these people gotta understand. Cause
That's true.
he said he died and rose on what, the third day,
That what they said.
supposedly.
That what they said?
supposedly died on the third day.
Mm-hmm.
And he said they came and he wasn't there, but yet he was in the garden because you said what Mary recognized him or she didn't.
She did not recognize him. I'm gonna pull it
So
up. So
he shape shifted type. Was that Jesus that died in the temple? Like they put up. I'm just trying to see because we
I think
got
that I see what y'all are dealing with because see the problem with it is that either he was a human man or people believe he was a divine being. Now, if he's a human man, if he was just somebody that was reforming the religion and the Romans and them just didn't want him in there and they killed him by putting this man on the cross, that means that either he died or he did it. Because if he was in the tomb for 3 days, but then he resurrected and got back up, that's a
well, hold on. I'm gonna cut your wisdom, but let me ask you a question,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
To your point.
Yeah.
If I borrow $20 from you on Friday and I tell you I'm gonna pay you back in 3 days, when do I pay you back?
You gonna pay me back 3 days later.
Which is what day?
Shit, the
on
full
Friday,
day.
that Monday.
Okay, so what we talking about? 3 days on Sunday for?
Right. All right. All
Make it
right.
make sense.
Yeah. See, a lot of
7:30
it.
7:30 Friday evening. I say, hey, bro, cash out me $20. I'm gonna pay you back 3 days from now. You
So
ain't calling me.
7:30 Saturday is one day.
7:30 Sundays.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we talking
Monday.
about? I,
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you this point, and I'm gonna go show what I'm talking about. This is called the
Mhm.
Council of Losida. In a second, the Council of Losida was the changing of the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday by the Romans. The Romans changed that, so that's why Sunday gets so much reverence,
Right.
right? So let's go to this real quick. This is John 21, John 21 through 18, right? It says, the first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early when it was dark, into the sepulchre. A sepulchre is like a vault cave. Give you an idea, in New Orleans, they bury people in sepulchres, not in the ground.
Right.
And seeketh the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Then she runneth to come to Simon Peter and tell the other disciples whom Jesus loved, and said to him, they have taken away the Lord out of his sepulchre, and we know not where they lay him. We're going to skip a little further down and come back because they went looking for him. They didn't see him. Right here. 11. But Mary stood without at the sepulchre weeping, and she wept. She stooped down and looked into the sepulchre, and she seen two angels with white sitting. I want you guys to take note of that. Please take note of that. She saw two angels with white sitting. That's going to make sense to you in a second. The one at the head and one at the foot, where the body of Jesus had lain. And they said unto her, woman, why are you weeping? Why are you crying? She said to them, because they have taken my Lord away, and I know not where they laid him. And it goes on to say, and when she had thus said, she turned herself back and saw Jesus standing there, and knew not it was Jesus. Why didn't she know it was him? It's the question of the hour. The next verse tells you why. Jesus said unto her, woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She supposedly said to him, to be a gardener. Now, we're in a graveyard. We're not in a garden. So the fact that the scripture says she's supposed to be a gardener or a groundskeeper, he was in disguise.
Right.
Now, he just came off the cross, one, supposedly. He had the shroud. He had nothing on, according to what we saw in the movies and the story. He had like a little diaper thing on and
Right.
a crown. Now he has on a whole disguise.
Correct.
I can show you throughout the scripture where Jesus constantly was evading and doing cool stuff like this the whole time. He was running from stuff and just evading, avoiding. Now, suppose him to be a gardener. Why a gardener? Why a gardener? The question is, before Jesus was captured and crucified, where was he at? He was in the Garden of Gethsemane.
Yeah, praying. Yeah.
So what did he have on in the Garden of Gethsemane? The same outfit.
That he got captured in, right.
Stay with me. She said to him, sir, if thou have borne hence, tell me where thou hast laid him and taken him away. She basically saying, hey, if you know where he at, just tell me where he at. Jesus said to her, Mary. She turned herself and said to him, Rabboni, Lord, Rabbi, priest, or Rabbi, which is to say, master. Jesus said to her, touch me not, for I have not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brother and say to them that I ascended into my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God. Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord and that he had spoken these things unto her. Now, if he said that he has not yet ascended, but go tell him I have, what is that called?
Sounds like a lie to me.
Okay, all right. See,
Lie?
what Dr. York taught us, let the scriptures teach you. Don't add nothing to it. Don't take nothing from it. Don't give your own interpolation, not interpretation, but interpolation, which you add stuff to it. Don't do that. Just read it for what it is, right?
Right.
So as we just read it, what was said? What is your guys' take on this?
I'm gonna let the brother go. I want to see what he gonna come with.
Man, hey, he broke one commandment though. He lied. According to the scripture.
But did he die at all?
No, he didn't die. He didn't know, because he's talking about, I have not yet ascended to my Father. So he right there still like the rest of them. But go tell my brethren and say unto them, I ascended to my Father. Whoa. Okay.
I think the first thing that we can most certainly agree on is that it's not a straightforward thing to understand. And what it also seems as if that, first of all, too, who wrote this? Who allegedly is telling us this? Because the New Testament has 4 different men giving their account of one man's particular life after it all has happened.
That's true.
So the first thing is that it creates what, I don't know if I heard one of you all use the word cognitive dissonance, but it creates a lot of cognitive dissonance because, like you said, you can't be with your Father, but yet you have not ascended yet,
So, but it goes to the question that bro said earlier: who are the Christians praying to?
Right.
Calling upon.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna show you one other quick thing before I yield the floor, because you made another point earlier about him. Now, remember earlier, I was telling you about those angelic beings that were in that cave that had white on. Let's check out what Jesus did. This is Matthew 17. And I'm out of the KJV, by the way. Hebrew Israelite brothers get on my butt if I read anything else. It says, after 6 days, Jesus take Peter, Simon, and John, his brother, and bring them up on the high mountain part. This is Mount Horeb, by the way, Horb, Horeb, which is the same mountain that Rasulullah Muhammad wa alayhi salam went to as well. Okay. And he was transfigured before them. His face shined like the sun, and his raiment was white as light. And behold, appeared unto him was Moses and Elisha, talking to him. Okay, let me keep going. And they answered, Peter said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make here, 3 tabernacles, 3 altars, one for thee, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he yet spoke, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud said, this is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. A couple things happen real quick and break it down for you. Jesus took his disciples to this mountain, and right before their eyes, he transfigured himself to look like the entities inside the cave we just talked about, all white on. And most Christians don't learn what Jesus looked like into Revelation, with the hair and the eyes of fire and the voice deep. But this shows you right here in Matthew, and he was transfigured, and his face did shine like like the sun, and his raiment was white as light.
Uh-oh.
Come on, I'm reading it slow for everybody. While he was yet speaking, behold, a cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud which said, this is my beloved son, in whom I'm well pleased. Hear him. Where else does this happen in verse 5? Where else did we hear this narrative of the clouds opening and a dove ascending down and somebody say something in the clouds? That happens later during the baptism with him and John, right? This happens earlier on with him. See, Dr. York said, if you only go read what he said, this is how you learn this stuff right here. If you read what Jesus said and then we'll read what his daddy said. Never mind what his homeboy said. What did he say?
I would agree.
And I'm just showing you guys something different. We know that he didn't die on the cross just then. We just read that. He was disguised as a gardener. Before his crucifixion, he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, his garden. Now, the Garden of Gethsemane has interesting history because the Garden of Gethsemane was property owned by his grandmother, Anna, the mother of Mary. Anna was a high priest of the tribe of Levi. His grandfather Joachim, was the high priest of the tribe of Judah. When his grandfather died, Joachim, there was no more male heirs to take the throne. This is how Hiram got in there, by marrying Jesus' auntie Shalom.
Whoa. So they make it seem like Jesus was poor, like he didn't have it all.
No,
Like
man had
he
plenty of
came
money.
from abundance. You know what I mean?
Royalty.
Like he got royalty. That sound like, hey, that sound like us. People don't know who they are. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm just saying.
And I'm just revealing. Well, let the scriptures. I ain't doing nothing. I mean, I'm showing y'all. The scriptures are revealing a different version of Christ that you didn't know about. This brother right here was able to transfigure himself. Boom. And he talked to Moses and Elijah. He talked to both of them. This is why when Jesus had the encounter with the Pharisees, and Jesus would tell them that he know Moses, and the Pharisees like, what? You young. Moses was way before your time. Jesus said, I was there in the beginning, he said. Remember, Moses is Old Testament.
Right.
Jesus is New Testament. How is Jesus talking to somebody from the Old Testament? How is this Jesus talking to Moses and Elijah? Because they asked John and Jesus, are you Elijah?
Let me ask the brother. I want to ask him a question. Do you the other brother? Do you believe this or know this to be true? What's your analysis of this?
To be honest with you, my analysis, like Jesus already, he shapeshifted throughout the Bible if people pay attention to it. But in order to understand that, you have to read the Circle 7 to see how Jesus came up with all this power. Because the Bible don't tell you what happened to you when he was born and what happened to him as a youngin and as a teenager. He just came back and started preaching and started coming with his disciple. But where did you go? The Circle 7, according to, Timothy Noble Ali, it speaks on him going to get these mystical powers and able to do what he's talking about in this book. So, in order to understand this, you have to, you can't be like Nat Turner, like the white lady did to Nat Turner. Shut him away from the other books and just gave him the Bible. You have to read books outside of the Bible to understand,
And I think
who Jesus really
and,
was.
and see, and we know that in the Circle 7, they have chapters in there where Jesus was, learning with the sages of India. I think they talk about some of the Egyptian hierophants. In
The
other
East.
words, they talk about these other wise elders of these different spiritual or religious systems that he learned under. Okay. And he returned after going on that apprenticeship. And now he's coming back as, the master of knowledge. But see, that contradicts the New Testament story if we're saying that Jesus is the Son of God and he was born with all knowledge and he's all knowing and all wise. He can't be that. And when he was young, he's learned from these other elders from these other
I
nations.
mean, it probably is true to a sense because we if you think about it, we all are born with that knowledge. We just have to remember that what religion supposed to be. Religion supposed to mean to bind within, to bring out. So we know these things. That's why a lot of stuff when it happens, we have aha moments like, know what that mean. Like we already had the information. We just have to tap in and remember. So in a sense, it is kind of true. We are born with that knowledge, with that power. We just have to remember. That's what I'm saying. We just get indoctrinated, and you know what I mean. So in a sense, they could be the same.
Brother Ponder, what you think?
I think you guys both are making great points, right? I just want to add it, go to the next level with the conversation. Now,
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Jesus himself, again, I'm telling you guys, he was after another divine order, a whole nother divine order. So his ability to come down here and do these magnificent things. Jesus said himself in the scripture. Let me show you right quick. Let's just see what Jesus said. I ain't gonna add nothing to it.
Mhm.
Um, Jesus said in John 8:23, Jesus said, "You belong to this world here below, but I come from above." He's not from here. First of all, ask yourself, where is he from, and when did he learn that he's not from here? At what point did he learn he's not from here, meaning Earth? Who told me that he's not from here? How did he figure he's not from here? And I'm making that point because when he was born, supposedly in Bethlehem, the messenger angel, Jibrail, comes to Joseph and tell Joseph to take him and Mary and hide him in Egypt until I call you out.
Yeah,
So
but in my bad to cut you off, but according to the three wise men, you have to tie that in. Like C. Freeman L, he tied it in that the Bible is dealing with astrology as well. So them three wise men could be Orion, the three stars. You know, if
Well,
he,
well,
I'm
yeah,
from above, the three wise men, the Magi. So I'm saying if we look at it, you can look at that Bible as a couple things. And I'm speaking from a astrology point now.
well,
You coming with
we know the three wise men. The three wise men were Babylonian priests because they said that they were coming from the east. And as far as astrology and that type of science being Babylon, they were good with the astrology. So, and it also says that these guys was following a star. So I do agree with you. There was some astrological influence when it comes to these three
so
wise men.
so when they say following a star, what is a star? A star is a sun. We think just because they said star, this is a nighttime situation, and they were riding at night following stars in the sky. They was following the sun. A sun is a star. A star is a sun. Our
Right.
closest star to us is our sun. They was following the sun. That's why the sun rises in the east. They came from the east, following the sun out west to Egypt.
Right.
That's what it said. And these three magi's, which is short for magician,
Hmm.
were known to us today as nobles. These were three kings that came to see him. And these three kings were bestowing upon him three gifts, supposedly according to the scriptures, to the story. And these three kings had a band of 10,000 men each with them. Now, here's the story Masonically. The three wise men represent the Shriners. That's why every Shriner hospital, you see them holding a little boy or protecting the children, the Ali child, they say. So the wise men represent the Shriners. Mary represents the Eastern stars, the star in the east. And the Masons, the Mayat sons, represents the carpenter or the stone mason that the builders rejected, which is Jesus. That's the esoteric and the messianic breakdown of what we're talking about right now. Those three figures represent Shrindom, and then Mary represents the Eastern Star, and then Jesus represents the Masons. That's how all three of those break down, right? I think where I was going to go with it is off planet to show the fact that Jesus himself is an extraterrestrial who doesn't belong here, but was sent here. Now we hear the story that the Immaculate Conception. What was the first Immaculate Conception that is written about? The first Immaculate Conception written about was Melchizedek. Melchizedek, according to the book of Enoch, is the first Immaculate Conception when he was magically appeared in his mother, Sophie, which is the wife of Ner. Ner is the father of Methuselah. Methuselah is the father of Noah. Okay? So when we go into this biblical narrative, we have to understand the whole story as it unfolds. My personal stake is to say that the Jesus they're referring to is not even from here anyway. He's from a whole nother body. And the Bible speaks on this. The Bible teaches us about these different bodies. Now I want to switch narrative and go back to the beginning. Have you guys ever heard of Jesus being referred to as the last Adam?
Yeah, I have.
What does that mean? I just saw it today. I mean,
Well,
I just saw it
apparently,
today. It fucked me up when I saw it. Like, damn, he the last Adam.
because you know how they try to say that Adam didn't have, like, you know, earthly parents because he was fashioned by the divine directly.
Mm-hmm.
And with the story of Jesus, you know, well, allegedly he only has one earthly parent that he was born through. So I think they're making that correlation of his birth, you know, not coming from, I guess, that traditional human background. Because even like you just said, if he's an extraterrestrial, then that means Buddy got a different background than I do.
But see, here's the thing though. The Bible talks about these extraterrestrials coming and going a lot.
It does. Yeah.
And the Bible talks about 3 other extraterrestrials who visits Abraham, and they transfigure themselves. Jesus was able to transfigure himself, correct? We just saw that. It is another story where another extraterrestrial by the name of Gabriel came to Mary and had to transfigure himself because it scared Mary how he looked. And I said, well, how do they look?
Originally?
Yeah, how do they look? These angelic beings, how do they look? And then how many different groups are there?
So are you saying that, like, this is correlated with the sons of God?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna show you in a second. I'm gonna show you. I'm drawing it out to notes, but I'm gonna show you in a second how Jesus himself, as he said in the scriptures, not me, he said it himself that he's not from here. He tell the Pharisees, where I go, you cannot come. Jesus says again that in my Father's house there are many mansions. How do you get a house inside of a mansion? He goes on and on by saying, I'm going to go to prepare a place for you where you can be also. He's talking off planet because we know that this earthly realm belongs to who? Not to him. This earthly realm belongs to Satan, according to the scriptures. This is according to Corinthians 4:4. Have you seen it?
So what is Jesus' paternal origin then, as far as his father, to your understanding?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Here on earth? Who?
Yeah, I mean, his biological father. Is it Joseph?
No, it's the angel Gabriel.
And see, with that, you know, it just sounds very similar to Genesis when they say that the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and then these Nephilim were born, and they were corrupt. So, you know, is he not saying he's a Nephilim, but that means he would have to come from that same type of background, right?
Jesus is a Gabor. The word Gabor means a mighty one. In Hebrew, a mighty man of renown. The first Gabor we learn about is Nimrod. Nimrod is of the same bloodline of Jesus. I can take you back to where it traces the bloodline of Jesus all the way back to Adam. Now, Nimrod comes out of the same bloodline as the first high priest, Adam, all the way through his son Enos, all the way through Seth, all the way through Ner, Methuselah, Noah. That's another bloodline. That's a heavenly bloodline because you have to understand that that particular bloodline is the heavenly dominion kingdom. And then you have the earthly dominion kingdom of the Levitical priests, and they got to hold. Those are the Israelites. The Israelites are claiming earth. That's why the big fight is about the land of Canaan, the promised land here, the physical place. Jesus ain't worried about none of that because this physical place belongs to Lucifer anyway. So even the Israelites themselves are fussing over territory that their father owns, who is Satan. And Jesus tells these Jews this stuff. Jesus tells them, I know who your father is. He was a liar in the beginning, and he's still a liar. Revelation tells you about that. Those are those who call themselves Jews and they're of the synagogue of Satan. You see what I'm saying? And this is correlated with the conversation that Jesus had with Satan at the top of the mountain. When Satan said, if you bow before me, all the kingdoms of earth that was given to me, I'll give to you. Write that down and find out who gave him the kingdoms in the first place that Satan's talking about. And then you connect it to Corinthians 4:4. So now we understand the plight that this earthly dominion does not belong to Jesus. He only came down here to save a certain group, and he tells you who they are. I was only sent to the Chinese people. No. To black people. No. To the Russians. No. I was only sent for one group, he said. The lost tribe. Who is the lost tribe? People say the house of Judah. Which part of Judah? Because we know that Judah was split into two parts. Some was taken north, some was taken south. Which ones was he coming to save? And what was he saving them from? Should be the question. He didn't come to set up a church. He didn't come for people to set up a choir and all this stuff that people man. This is man doing this stuff. He didn't come for none of that stuff. So my point is this right here. What I'm going to show you now is the energy, the Christ consciousness, the spirit that Jesus represents, the spirit that he embodied was a spirit that was put here in Genesis chapter 127. And that spirit in chapter 127 was the primordial energy known as the Ruach. And that primordial energy was put inside of the first Adam. And that first physical Adam became known as the Ruach HaKodesh, the holy soul, the seat of the creator. And that's why the scripture compares the first Adam, Adam Harashan, and Adam Kadmon to the living Jesus, because they're the same spirit, just incarnated into different flesh. Am I making sense? So the same spirit of Adam, the first Adam we read about in Genesis, Jesus is the reincarnated version of that same spirit. He's not nothing new. Because in Genesis 1, we learned that spirit is not made, that spirit does not come from here. Genesis chapter 1, the spirit was manifested and created from the heavens. Let me show you in the scripture, because I feel like I don't want to.
No, you're right. It said that the living spirit soul was put into the physical form. I want to hear the other brother's commentary on what Mr. Ponder just said. What you got on that?
The about the concept of where Jesus came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the order of Melchizedek. Like I said, that seems all the way to that lineage and that study. And if people you have to study and read the Circle 7 to grasp even what Brother Ponder is talking about. So yeah, this all of this is basically it's spot on, but you'll have to you gotta you just can't read it from that book. I found this out by reading the Circle 7.
Well,
So,
what I want to add emphasis to, and you're right, the Circle 7 Koran, which is prepared by Noble Jew Ali, which is just the composite of Levi Downing and the Aquatic Gospels of Jesus and two other books. That's a good book that gives you a compilation of it. But I think the point that I'm pointing out is this light force just it shape shift into different entities that we call Adam, that we call Jesus, that we call this, that we call, like, that's just the name we give it once it took on the flesh. And what I want to do is spend about 3 minutes pointing out a couple points, and then I'll yield the floor. I want you guys to see this point. In the beginning, we know that's a flaw already. The word "in" indicates something was already there. It should have said from the beginning if it was the very beginning. So we know it's not the beginning. This is another beginning, a reset, if we want to say that. The next thing we have to point attention to is this word right here. Is this word singular or plural? And this is just basic 101, because
it look like many.
the
Yeah, that's
information is
cool.
written in English, so we have to apply English, the English, what's it called, lexicon, right? Which is the law.
Mm-hmm.
The word
Right.
lexicon means law of the language. When you don't understand the lexicon, you are dyslexicon. You don't understand the law of the language. So this is plural. In the beginning, God created the heavens, which are plural. Remember that, because next I'm going to show you the 7 heavens and give you the names of all 7 heavens. And once I give you the names of all 7 heavens, I'm going to show you what Jacob had the vision about. Then I'm going to show you the place that, what's his name? Elijah went to, and where Enoch went to, the 3rd heaven, they call it. And Paul claimed he's going to the 3rd heaven. So these are the heavens. And before I begin to dive into this, right, understand that this God right here, if you read the Torah, they don't use the word God. It use El Elyon, Elyon. If you know who El Elyon is, or Elyon El, he is the Most High, and he has 5 creator sons, and all 5 of his creator sons' last name ends with El. Back to the circle 7, and back to the Moors. That's why the Moors say the L's and the ways of the wills, the L's and the bays are the wills and the ways, the L's are the creators, the bays are the ones that bring the law.
Yeah, I heard him
El,
say that.
Elohim. The Elohim are the 5. Elohim is a plural. Yes, a plural because it means it represents the 5 creator sons. Now, in Islam, they say El Ilah. Okay. But also in Islam, Allah has no partners or no sons or no cousins or no wife or none of that stuff. So, anyway, in the beginning, it says God created the heavens and the earth. It's going to start by saying, now the earth was formless and empty and dark was over the surface of the deep, and the spirit of God. Stop right there. The spirit of God. This is the Ruach I was talking about earlier.
Correct.
Some people call it Chi. Some people call it Ka. Let's just call it Ka, because the word spirit means breath. That's why in chapter 2 it says he blew into man the spirit of life, and then he became a living soul. The word spirit, people say, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. It means you breathe. So stop saying, you sound stupid to a scholar. Stop saying you spiritual, because spiritual means you breathe. The word means spirit. So the spirit of God represents the Ruach. It represents the energy force. The Ka. The Ka did not have a Ba. The Ba means body. Ka means spirit. In chapter 2, you're going to see the Ka go inside of the Ba and becomes a Kaaba. Enoch became a Merkaba, a super light. So we're only talking about light force. We're not talking about no entities. We're not talking about Jesus. We're talking about a light force. And we're going to follow this light all the way through the scriptures. And this light is able to take form. That's why in the transfiguration of Jesus, the first thing it pointed out was he transfigured back into the light he was.
Right.
And the book of John tells us that the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. The light became the Logos, the living word. That's the light. And God
Okay,
said,
brother.
let there be light, and there was light. This is not the sun. The sun doesn't come to verse 16. God saw the
Hey,
light.
bro.
Good. Go ahead, bro.
Hey, bro. I wanna before we get too far deep, come back to the are you calling the spirit the car,
Yeah.
and we were referring to the body as bar.
Yeah.
It's another book we'll have to get into outside of the Bible, which is the Kabbalah. You know, yeah, they
That's
had
where I'm
they had
going.
to they had to
That's
study
kind
up
of
on
what.
that
Yeah, that's
too.
kind of what he talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I know, but I'm saying we still in that book, but people
Yeah.
won't understand it. That's why I said it's hard for our people to understand this Bible the way it's written. But if you go read the Kabbalah and look at it from a spiritual, esoteric point, it'll be more understanding. And then you come back and read this book, and you'll be like, okay, that's what this
But
is.
we got to remember too, though. Like, see the when Christianity, the public religion of Christianity was made by the Romans. These metaphors and these symbols, they were given that exoteric story and presentation. But a lot of what we're talking about right now, these esoteric understandings, these were like private matters to understand what these symbols and metaphors meant. So a lot of people, probably the average Black American Christian, a lot of them may have never even heard of the Kabbalah or some of these other books that are associated with it. But I just want to throw that in there. You're all right what you're saying though.
Well, we have to realize these teachings right here that we're getting into, the esoteric, the Gnosticism, this stuff was given to Adam. You got to remember the physical Adam in chapter 2, God gave him his mind, it says. This was God manifested in flesh. This was the first God manifested in flesh, Adam Hamrashan. And that's why they made the comparison by saying that Jesus is the second Adam, manifested like God. So Adam knew what God knew. The language, esoteric knowledge, and this esoteric information went down through the first priestly bloodline, I told you earlier, through Methuselah to Nimrod. And that's why the Bible said in the time of Nimrod, everybody spoke one language. What was that language called? It was called the Adamic language. They spoke like Adam. They knew what Adam knew. They knew this information. It wasn't until man in the Levitical priesthood came along, building altars and temples and books and sacred scrolls. Now you got to kill a sheep and put blood here. And that's manslaughter. That's why Jesus did not obey anything they did. Oh, he's getting the ass out of the ditch on the Sabbath. Jesus said, that's man's law. He didn't follow that man's law. Christians on earth follow man's law. This is the law of the Most High. This is the mind of the Most High I'm teaching y'all. So we can't keep saying, oh, black people don't understand it. We got to teach it to them and reveal it to them and show it to them. And if they reject it, that's on them. Jesus said, if you reject knowledge, I will also reject you as a priest. Jesus also said, if you don't know, you will suffer. So what we're attempting to do is to reveal information to them and show them the esoteric meaning. Now, everything we read in chapter 1 right here happens in heaven. This is no earthly information. This is all in the heavenly realm. In fact, this is taking place. I'm gonna go ahead and give you the 7 heavens real quick before I go back to that. This is taking place in the 7th vertical heavens right now. Genesis chapter 1 is in the 7 heavens. Vilon, Rakon, Shamquel, that's the 3rd heaven. That's the one Enoch went to. That's the one that Jesus went to. Zebulun, Maon, Macon, and Aravat. Aravat is the highest realm. That's where the throne is. This is where your boy what's his name? Ezekiel. This is what Ezekiel was talking about. This is what Isaiah was talking about. Isaiah said, I saw the throne, and to his right was standing the accuser. Revelation talks about the throne, the 24 elders. And when the Most High entered the room, they threw their crowns at his foot. Psalms talks about this. God resides in the council amongst the gods, it says. Come on, y'all. Y'all know this stuff. Anything I'm talking about is no new. I'm just reminding y'all. It makes sense. And when you start talking like this when believers be quiet. Because they're not taught like this. Enoch in the 7 heavens. Enoch also runs the 7 heaven itinerary, but the apocryphal narrative rather than the rabbinical functions list. It says the most important overlap with Paul, 3rd heaven paradise. This 3rd heaven paradise, Islam talks about it. Paul talks about it. Enoch talks about it. That 3rd heaven is called Shemquel. It's in Psalm 78, 23, 24. Who teaches about this? Next, this is the quick correspondence. And I also can show you the other side of it. Now, let me go back because I don't want to get too far off track. And I want to yield the floor too. This is 127. This particular entity was made to look like the creator. That's what likeness and image means. This entity looks just like him. What did God look like? The invisible God, it says. This entity was made to look like him. Who also reminds us what God looks like? When Jesus said, when you see me, you see my Father. Well, what did God look like? Looks like Adam, the physical Adam. 27 goes on to say this right here. 27 says, so God created mankind in his own image. And in the image of God, he created them, male and female. He created them. And we heard this stuff 100 times before. This particular entity I'm talking about right here in 126 and 127 is not the physical Adam. This is the spiritual Adam. This is Adam Kadmon. This is where the Kabbalah comes in at. This is where the non-spherical worlds come in at. This is where Melekut and Keter comes in at. If you never heard of Melekut, you never heard of Keter, look it up.
Because allegedly, isn't the Adam Cadman residing in the ninth Sephiroth of Yesod or something like that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you got to be like a real study. You got to be on it to really.
Yes,
Like, I know what you're saying, but this is only because we've done the extra homework. You know, that's all.
yes, Sirski. Now, another another thing you can read also is also called. You heard the Urantia book?
Say it one more time.
The Urantia book.
No, go into it.
Oh, you heard it. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I ain't
You're
heard
a
it.
rancher?
Look real
Yeah,
quick.
I mean,
Google that real quick so I can
Okay, hold
write
on,
that
hold
down
on,
too.
hold on. Now, let me give you the backdrop. I pull it up because it ain't gonna make sense to you. You know how in Revelation it talks about the war in heaven. Where did the war take place at? That's a simple question.
Well, allegedly, it had to be in one of them, somewhere in one of the dimensions of the seventh heavens.
Okay, I'm glad you used the word dimension. Thank you, brother. Now let's go to where is it at? Right here. Bam. Pull up my cheat sheet right quick. This is called the Lucifer Rebellion. This is what we're talking about. You know it as the war in heaven. This is called the local star system. Let me go to the top where I started at right quick.
All right.
There we go. Paradise. Can y'all see this on screen?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Paradise realm center of reality. Paradise, that's the third heaven. That's the one we just talked about. That's the one that Paul was talking about. That's the one that the Muslims talk about. That's the one that Enoch went to when he became who known as Metatron. When he had to rule, he ruled over the fallen angels. Absolute eternal center, the dwelling of the universal Father. Who is the universal Father? The universal Father is Christ Michael. Don't worry about it. I'll explain in a second. This is why Michael had to kick Lucifer out of heaven. Remember in Revelation? Why are you thinking that the Creator who resides in the seventh heaven had anything to do with this situation? Christ Michael is the ruler. He is the universal Father. Not created. It's outside of time and space. No rebellion ever occurred here. Third heaven. Havana, write this down. Havon is the perfect internal center universe. Consists of 1 billion perfect worlds. What did Jesus say about this? In my Father's house, there are many mansions. Super universe, time and space dominions. The 7 super universes, the 7 worlds I was just telling you about. In the Moorish Science Temple, you stand up with your 5 and your 7, they say. Your 5 and your 7. The 5 represents the 5 creator sons. The 2 represents the 2 that fell not, which are the seraphim and the cherubim. The seraphim and the cherubim resides in a whole nother situation than the archangels do. The archangels can't even go up there high. The 7 super universes are arranged around Havan, Orivanton, our super universe. It governs 100,000 local universes. Uversa, the capital of Orvidon. If this is not making sense to you, do not worry about it. Just write the shit down. Listen to me now. Believe me later on in the future. It's the Supreme Court and cosmic administration, the final adjudication of the rebellion, including Lucifer. This is where in Psalm it talks about that God resides in the council of the gods. This is the administrative adjudicating universe. Now let's go to the local universe. This is the one the sons created. I just showed you Genesis chapter 1 and said this is the creation of what? The heavens, plural. Now we're dealing with it. Nebidon. It's the local universe that Jesus belongs to. It's governed by Michael. This is why they had to go get Michael to get Lucifer out of Nebidon. Lucifer is from Santania. He's the high prince of Santania. Everything I'm telling y'all about is not here on earth. This is Genesis chapter 1. This is the prequel. Before we start to read chapter 1, we're understanding how did this entity even get to this realm to begin to create in chapter 1. We're also talking about Revelation. It talks about the dragon that got kicked out, and his tail took a third of the stars out of the heavens. This is what we're talking about. You want to talk esoteric? This is esoteric. Nebadon is governed by Michael. Salventon is the headquarters of Nabadon, residence of Michael, or Jesus after his incarnation. I'll explain in a second. This is the administrative and spiritual center. Nordak, our constellation with Nebadon. It oversees 100 local systems. The capital is Edeton. Edeton is the constellation headquarters, ruled by the Most High. The Most High ruled in the kingdom of men. This is in the book of Daniel. Santania, our local system, contains 619 inhabited worlds. Lucifer was the system sovereign. The Lucifer rebellion took place in Santania, not in the third heaven, not in Havana, and not in the fourth heaven, but in a place called Santania. Write that down. That's in the book of Revelation. It talks about him getting kicked out of heaven. Which heaven? Should have been your question. You just learned in chapter 1 that there's a multitude of heavens. Which one did he get put out of? He got put out of Santania. Jerusalem, not Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the capital of Santania. It is the administrative world. It is the center of rebellion activity. And then you have your world, which is called Urantia. It's one of worlds affected by the Lucifer rebellion. It's the site of Jesus' incarnation. Jesus said, I am not from here. Jesus said, I am from above, ye are from below. Where I go, you cannot go. But in my Father's house, there are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you, he said. And there's other inhabited worlds and planetary mansion worlds, the translation training worlds after physical death, not mansion in luxury, educational relative spheres, corresponding loosely to John 14. This is all of them right here. This is a complete list of all of them. I'm going to heaven when I die. Which one you going to? Should be your question. Which one? You just learned there are many of them. Elijah talks about it. Jacob told you about the ladder he saw ascending up to the clouds. Why aren't you learning about the many heavens and which one Jesus came from? And which one we talking about? Where is he going? Lucifer got kicked out of heaven. The book of Job, Lucifer went to heaven and talked to God. No, he didn't talk. He's talking to Michael. Nobody's able to get to the seventh heaven to talk to the Most High God. He's all by himself. Nobody talks to him. For what? What's there to talk about? Let's look at the Most High as a 1,000-watt light bulb. You can't get that close to him. Now, these other entities are 200-watt light bulb. Jesus was a 100-watt light bulb. You can get close to them, but the Most High is a 1,000-watt light bulb. You're not getting up there. There's other realms in between him. He don't got time to deal with earth. Michael sent Lucifer to rule earth, Corinthians 4:4 says. This is his territory. He's a system sovereign. That's who he is. Jesus is also a system sovereign, but on earth his name is Jesus. That's the confusion. His name is Celinda when he goes to Havon, when he goes to Nordak, when he goes to Edeton. This is what I'm talking about, family. This is the real esoteric information you want to deal with. Not all that Masonic shit in the stars. And which star are you talking about? Don't tell me no damn star. Which star? Which one? In Revelation, when it talks about the dragon, it's talking about the star system called Dracos. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole system called Dracos. The Dracos star system resides in Santania. You reside on what's called Urantia, or Earth, or Q. Earth was named by the Greeks. What was the name before the Greeks called it Earth after their mother goddess Ithra? What was it called before Earth? Q. What was it called before Q? Urantia. This is the stuff you need to be studying. So when you have those conversations with Christians, when you crack that Bible open and you begin to see that it was a war in heaven, now your mind ain't thinking about no one heaven. And why is your mind on one heaven when you just read in Genesis chapter 1 there were several heavens? You never wondered which one? You never wanted to ask yourself, what were their names, these different heavens? How many different angelic beings are there? In which class of angelic being is Jesus? How was he able to transfigure himself to reveal himself as one of those beings? And then he incarnated himself back into a man. You can do the same thing because the light in man, the light in you, the light in me, the darkness can't comprehend it. You can't comprehend the light. These are all light entities. That's why they tell you in science and NASA, he's going at light speed, they say. The speed of light, they compare it to. Not sound, light. That's how fast light is. You are a light being. I thought I saw something outside in the dark. What was it? It was glowing. That's not a glow, that's light. That's pure light. That's what Jesus looked like in his purest form. He had feet like burnished brass, Negroes say, thinking that brass means brown. No, when you superheat brass, it glows. It says burnished brass, meaning in a furnace. You can't burn brass to turn black, Negro. It glows when it gets superheated as a light. That's why he said his feet was like burnished brass. His eyes was like flame of fire, a light. The light beings, the light bearer. I yield the floor, man.
Hey, see, that's what people gotta study the Merkaba and understand what the tetrahedrogram. They gotta be like it's all this shit. It ties in, and after I start studying the chakras, all this shit start within. It's in the mind. You ain't go find Christ looking outside yourself. That what people got to get straight first. You got to know where to find God at first. It's in darkness where you close your eyes, where you meditate. Like they all spooked us from this. So like all this is we taking a long journey on a short path. When all you had to do is stop and go within. But
That's it.
a lot of us we ain't been taught that. We've been taught to read outside. You know what I mean? Outside the book instead of becoming the book. That's why they say the Bible is just basic information before leaving Earth.
That's it.
Like you supposed to be able to channel this energy right here. So
But you
they take
can though.
like what them monks are really doing. Like you know something going on in the world. Them folk do not leave they post unless some shit happening. So it's a spiritual energy going around right now. It's something happening right now in 2026.
Yeah, it all go back to that, that original message about the soul, the divine spark, the light, that's within the human, the man and the woman. And that original message was basically just going through this life journey and having a relationship and awakening that intimate light within you, which goes beyond the human ego and our brain and personality. And
But the church will never be able to do that because they operate from the ego instead of
correct.
actually really trying to get these people to tap into their Christ self.
Yeah.
That's why I left the church. Like it's like repetitive. You preaching on physical things. Don't people need a house payment and all this other stuff? No, show me how to channel that energy where I can go ahead and manifest that light bill money and that's you
Because
know what I mean.
really,
Those stuff of that nature. They not. You know what I mean?
no, it's because
It,
when the brother was reading, it just made me think about the curriculum of the Christian church and how, because see, most of the stuff in the Kabbalah is giving, an understanding of the strict scripture from the rabbis who was supposed to be learned in it. So you got the Bible, which are the books and the stories, but then you got the Zohar and the Kabbalah, which is going deeper in detail on what some of the stuff in the story talked about. because the Bible's not going to zoom in and go into details of the breakdowns of all the heavens like the brother Ponder just did. It's just going to say the heavens. So the curriculum in the church where most people go, their objective really isn't to teach those people that. So it would make sense why they don't go into it. And in other words, the church it just has a different objective, and it's actually meeting its objective, and the objective is not to put people on the right road to turn that mustard seed into a bright star, as the brother is saying. That's something you got to do on your own, and that is the message that unfortunately the prophets were trying to tell the people. But
Yeah, I like that.
You're gonna always have people come in, man, with these corrupt objectives, for lust, money, power, and you change the information, and it mislead a lot of people, man. It mislead a lot of people. Like the Drewski skit, for some reason, when the brother, I just saw that Drewski skit that came in my mind when he was in the church, suspended in air, and like how he was mocking the black church, but that's what we've turned it into. That's why we don't know what the Kabbalah is and all this other stuff. So, yeah.
And not only that, I want to point this out. When we talk about the church, the church itself is under something called the Homogeneous Creed. Now write this down. The Homogeneous Creed is prominent in the 4th century in the Arian controversy. You never heard of Arianism?
Yep.
If you never heard of Arianism, then you don't know anything about the Monophysites and the Diaphysitics. Okay? The Arian controversy, something called the Donatist Schism, also happened. It defined the Son as similar, homogeneous to the Father, deliberately avoiding the term substance or essence to describe the relationship. It was a non-Nicene middle ground position favored by some, distant from the Nicene same substance homogeneous. What am I talking about? This is when all churches are under what's called the Homogeneous Creed or the Hanodican or the Nicene Creed. All churches. I don't care if you're Lutheran. I don't care if you're Catholic. I don't care if you're Baptist. I don't care if you're AME Zion. I don't care what you are.
So this from the what they did, the Council of Nicaea? This what they is?
In other words, it's the agreed upon curriculum of the Roman officials. Because all these esoteric teachings that we talking about that are the true teachings of the Mashiach Jesus.
Yes.
This stuff was removed, hidden away, tucked away. And as the brother said, when they were doing this Nicene Council and they were coming up with what we were going to agree upon with Christianity, a lot of the problem is that divinity. Like, is it the Father has the divinity or is it shared? And of course, the people, with Constantine and his side, they won out. So that's why that Son of God doctrine is spreading, because even in Islam, some of the Muslims have, a different understanding of even Jesus' background. So it's
I want to add value to what you just said, right? And I want us to stay away from the psychoneurosis of thinking, because we say names like Constantine, that he was a bunch of white pagan Grecians and Romans orchestrating this stuff.
Right.
Once again, the Greeks and the Romans had no written language. So all these council meetings, the council of Ephesus, the council of Chalcedon, the council of Nicaea 1 and 2, those emmetical council meetings were ran by black African bishops. The first Christian church, called the Hagia Sophia, was the learning center for these white people, these Grecians.
Yeah.
Look up the Hagia. So it's a mosque now, but it was called the Hagia Sophia, means wisdom.
Yep.
It was called the Church of Holy Wisdom, Sophie.
The old Byzantine empires in modern day Turkey, right?
Yep. This was ran by black African bishops, known as Melkite Coptic Egyptians.
Yep.
They didn't have a religion in Greece. These were, as you said earlier, these were Hellenistic beliefs. Okay? That's why Christianity today is known as henotheism. Islam is the only monotheistic religion. That's why in Islam they start off by saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim alhamdulillah. There is no other. I bear witness that there is no, there ain't nobody, there ain't no holy, nothing, Trinity, three, nothing, Godhead. There's
Right.
only one.
So this is when the council came together. That when they came up with the Nicene Creed,
In
when
the
they
Holy
became
Trinity.
all the gods together and became up with one,
No,
and
no,
Aries came and tried to stop them.
no. So the Nicene Creed was the it was the agreed upon way to do it, but the Council of Ephesus hasn't happened yet, and
Okay,
the
okay.
Council of Chalcedon, they use the word transconceptuation is the word they use. And by using the word transconceptuation, that means Jesus is God. They're one. Because Arian argued that he can't have both divine and human nature. He can't have both. He can't be duo, a diaphysitic. So you had a split between the diaphysitic believers and the diaphysitic, and you had the monophysitic. The mono means one. The monophysitic people say he can't be one. He can't be both. He got to be one or the other. And they believed in the physical man. Okay, but the church council was pushing the fact that he is both. He is a demigod, they called it.
Right.
Zeus came down and had sex with Olympia and gave birth to Hercules, both divine and physical. They already had that story. And I told you earlier, had the story of Serapis already.
Right.
So they already got the building blocks to create this narrative.
Absolutely.
Now, everybody that went against it, they call them heretics, and they called them not pagan, what's the other word? Heathens.
Mhm.
Heathen means those who lived outside of Rome who did not want to convert into this new bullshit. Oh, you ain't nothing but a heathen. Yeah, I don't believe that. And I told you earlier, the Donatist schism also happened. Before that, the Donatist schism also brought it in. And this is an African schism. Don't think that we're in Rome, people. We're in Africa right now. Turkey's still in Africa today, is the last time I checked. Turkey is Northeast Africa. This is happening in Africa. These Roman clergymen and these Roman people, these Roman individuals are trying to understand what is happening. Now, Constantine didn't have a dog in the fight. So we can't keep saying Constantine did nothing. These bishops called the council meeting. Constantine just presided over it as the archbishop, as the pappus. See, anytime you sit as the Caesar, you are also the Pope by default. And the Pope is also known as the Vicar of Christ. Vicar means Christ in person.
Okay, so yeah, so is there that we speaking of the Pope. What? Okay, you got different. I've just found out it's different kind of Pope. You got a black Pope, and the one that ain't nobody talking about, the gray Pope. They say he the puppet master of everything, and for them to be like the middleman between, God and the so-called Catholics and Christians. Like, what did that stem from?
I'm gonna show you this.
And that's interesting. You just mentioned the Pope, and I've been going down that, doing my research on that and figuring out there's different kind of popes.
The Pope is called the Vicar of Christ because he acts as who? Visibly represented in deputy on earth. So who Christians praying to? I'm gonna keep asking that question. Who they praying to? Him? Because he is Christ, Jesus Christ. The Pope is. He is Jesus Christ. Any Pope, the Black Pope, the Great Pope, any Papas. And you have to understand, the Pope under the Roman Catholic Church split. The Anglican Pope don't even agree with what the Greek Orthodox Pope says. They don't even get along. There's two different litanies, two different entities, two different situations. When we say Catholic Church, we think about Rome and the Vatican, and we think, no, Martin Luther already divided the Roman Church already. They never got back together. So
Yeah,
in
really.
in
Yeah.
America, We follow the Anglican Church. Now, who are the Anglican believers? Remember in 1621 when those church folks came over here on a pilgrimage? The pilgrims came over here. Who came over here? The Calvinists, the Brownings, the Puritans, the Quakers, who were religious folks, right? This was this called the First Great Awakening, by the way. And out of that First Great Awakening in America, under the Anglican Church, you get the Second Great Awakening. And the Third Great Awakening, as I mentioned many times before, you get people like Father Divine, you get the M.O.I Zion, you get Sweet Daddy Grace, you get Noble Drew Ali, you get all these preacher folks coming out of the Third Great Awakening, out of the same lineage of the Anglican Church. Then you get the Baptist Church, you get the Southern Baptists, and they all believing and teaching the same stuff of the Anglican Church. This is why Noble Drew Ali said we have to return Christianity and the church back to the Europeans that was created for their salvation, not ours. We're going to keep the Bible and we're going to keep Yeshua, but give the church back to the Anglicans. Give Christianity back to the Anglicans. This is an Anglican belief. And this is what most black Christians don't understand because they're under psychoneurosis.
I mean, should we already cursed by speaking like a Anglo-Saxon language, like English? You know what I mean? It's this already a tainted itself. So like Dr. York Malachi was talking about, the language, the frequency, all that matters too. So like I said, bro, in order to tap into that frequency, it's stuff we have to unlearn and relearn to even be able to tap into that.
How you spell schism? There it is. That's scheme, it's not schism.
First,
Damn. How you spell schism? The word schism.
I think it's SCHISM because it made me think about the schism in 1065 when
That's just
the capital was moved. It was moved to Byzantine
yeah.
from Italy. I think it was like 1065, I believe. But yeah, you're right. When the Roman Pope broke away from the Byzantine emperor.
Well, when the Roman Pope broke away, the breakaway was under Martin Luther. What I was talking about.
Oh, you know the Protestant Reformation. Martin
Luther divided the church, and the reason Martin Luther divided the church or put up those 95 reform theses is because due to the fact that the Roman Catholic Church making decisions for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, the Anglicans, the King of England, they was like, we want to do our own thing. So
right.
Yeah.
And they went to the Archbishop of Cranberry, Thomas Cranmer. Thomas Cranmer became the Pope of the Anglican Church, and he broke away from the Eastern Orthodox Church.
I think even the 30 Years' War in Europe, was part of that. So yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. But all this religious-ism, my point I'm making is this shit was constructed from the beginning by these Greeks and these Romans, and they did it with the help of if you want to call it yourself, but these African ancestral assistance by the Coptic Egyptians. The Coptic Egyptians helped them to orchestrate this shit. And then when you get to Constantine, Constantine gave his sepulcher. It's called the Donation of Constantine. Y'all heard of that?
Donation of Constantine.
Not Donation of Constantine.
Oh, come on, man. Watch this. The Donation of Constantine. This is when Constantine gave his ecclesiastical authority over to an African bishop by the name of Sylvester I. And he got baptized at the Council of Ferrara, making himself a Christian. And then after that, during that battle, you said the wars, that battle, he seen something in the sky, and this is what he saw right here. It said, "In hoc signo vince, in this sign we shall conquer." And these goof-ass black Masons be wearing this shit. In hoc signo vince. And if you go to a Christian church, that little wood table in the front where they do that communion at, on the front, you're going to see a crown with a cross in it. That's the Constantine symbol for in hoc signo. In this sign we shall conquer, it says.
Yeah, that's a fact. That's a fact.
That's
Hold on.
what happened.
So we unaware keep putting ourselves deeper in the spell every
But see,
Sunday.
why are you even in church on Sunday is the question.
Golly. Yeah, that too.
The Council of Lucidia, I just pulled up the Council of Lucidia. Let me show you real quick. The Council of Lucidia, they changed it to Sunday. It
I
was
remember
never.
reading and there's a brother named Lee
God damn.
Cummins. There's a brother named Lee Cummins, and he got a series of books where he talk about the melanated people of Europe. But in one of those books, he talks about King James and his battle with the Catholics when they were changing the Sabbath and that back and forth. So yeah, there is a history of it, but yeah, they most certainly did change it to that from
What?
Saturday to Sunday.
Well, this happened in 363 A.D. This is prior to Prince James, King of Scotland, Prince of Wales. This is prior to Prince James Black Ass. This is the Council of Lucidia happened in 363, where they changed everything. The primary aim was to establish order within the local church through specific rules, canons they call them. That's what a canon is. You say the uncanonized version, right?
Mhm.
It means the rules covering church discipline, behavior, doctrine, specifically addressing issues like Judaizing practice and observing the Sabbath and interacting with heretics. Now, those heretics, what's his name? Dantonist schism, heretic, and Arius were heretics, they called them. Canon 29 said the Sabbath. The council prohibited Christians from resting on the seventh day, which is Saturday, like Jews, Judaizing, and encouraged resting on what day? Sunday. This happened in 364 AD. Why is it important? Because it's not written nowhere in the book you should worship on Sunday. There's no book that says that. Show me in the book where it says worship on Sunday. You can find it. The correlation of Sunday being the day of worship or the day of rest is because Jesus was supposedly resurrected on the third day. But I just told you, if I borrow from you on Friday, 3 days later is Monday, not Sunday. The only reason they do Sunday is because of the observation of what the Romans said to do, going against the law of the Most High. The Most High said Saturday. Jews still say Saturday is the Sabbath. It's only
Absolutely.
Christians who go to church on Sunday, not even knowing why.
Yep.
Thou shalt not change the word, not one jot nor one tittle, the Most High said. So what are y'all doing on Sunday? Why y'all in church on Sunday? Why y'all even in the church on Sunday? It's the question you should be asking yourself. The Most High does not dwell in temples made by the hands of man, the Bible says. Who in there? Y'all worshiping? Who inside that building? This is a temple erected to Serapis Christos. This is a temples erected to the different deities of old, the
Yep.
Grecian deities. This is why you drink blood and eat the skin of a man. That shit crazy, man. Come on, y'all.
Right.
Come on,
The
man.
veil rituals, man. Yeah.
Why do they do that? Well, Jesus said they're doing it in remembrance. No, they're not doing it because of that. This is a what do you call it? An initiation. This is initiation that Melchizedek did with Abraham. And because Jesus is of the same order of Melchizedek, this is a ceremony. Jesus was initiating his disciples into the order by breaking bread. Watch this.
Yep.
Give you the verse in the chapter. It's Genesis 14:18, a pivotal biblical moment symbolizing covenant, blessing, and foreshadowing the Christian Eucharist. As a king of Salam and the priest of the Most High, Michael, who y'all call Melchizedek, Melech, angel, Zadok of righteousness. This is Michael, acts prefiguring Jesus. Jesus is Michael. Michael is Jesus. Melchizedek, same entity, same energy, same light force. Watch this. Christians who ultimately king priests instituted the sharing of bread and wine to represent his body and blood for a new covenant. This event signifies divine provision, spiritual substance, and continuing of God's blessing from Abraham to Christ and his followers. Melchizedek did that first as a symbolic meaning into the covenant, into the brotherhood. So
That's the first place that's the first place in the Bible that you see it.
Crazy, y'all. Crazy, man. Crazy, crazy, crazy. And I'm saying crazy because it's a lot, man.
Yeah, it's and it's
Anything
like
else? Like,
yeah.
y'all got anything else to add, man? Because I think it's been good, man. I think
Yeah,
we.
it's been very very good and very thought provoking, and what it just shows is that there's just a lot of more. If people do their own investigation individually, they'll get further. But the church curriculum and what they got going on, their objective really isn't to steer you into what we talking about. So this is
Somebody,
a
somebody in the chat said, "I've been telling people to study the Crusades because that's where you find Vlad, Dracula, and the vampire myth, as well as, and he was a Christian." Ah,
well
you
that
think? Go
that
ahead.
order of yeah. I mean, the Order of the Dragon, it really was just a chivalry night, a chivalric order of monarchs of Europe.
Mm,
Um, so, and what was going on too? Remember when you said that the Muslims came in? What was that, 1453, and they
hmm
took over Constantine and changed it into Istanbul. But a lot of the Christians of Eastern Europe at that time, they still were battling against those Turks. So I believe it may have been Sigismund of Luxembourg
Okay.
around the early 1300s, I want to say, and they consolidated themselves and said, we're going to go against these invading Turks. And they created what we call the Order of the Dragon. And Vlad's father, I believe, was a
Count
member of it. Yeah,
Count Drucola was his name.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
you got it on the screen. Yeah, you got it right there. Yeah.
Count Count Drucola. Now Vlad Count Drucola gave Vlad away to Muhammad II,
Right,
and once Muhammad II, as you said, took over the Byzantine Empire, Vlad got away, and Vlad went back to his homeland, and Vlad came back to battle against. Now these are Seljukian Turks. The Ottoman Empire were descendants of the Persians. They come from Darius and Xerxes and them folk right there. Tribally, these are, well, Vlad people. Tribally, they are of the Goths, the Ostrogoths, and the Visigoths. And the Ostrogoths and the Visigoths were like the protectors of the Roman Empire, the outer realm of the Roman Empire, until they turned on Rome. That's the part I do know. Now, when Vlad came back, he came back. He wasn't fucking around. He was taking heads off, literally.
right,
And the rumor was he was drinking blood on the battlefield.
right. Because we got to remember too now, like, see, a lot of these people, they may have publicly, you know, expressed themselves as Christian, but behind closed doors in private, a lot of them were still part of these certain Luciferian orders and um, whatever term you may want to use. So a lot of the blood drinking and a lot of that mythology, I think that they infused with the Vlad story. We got to remember a lot of these elites, like even the elites of today, for example, like we got these rumors of, you know, whether no matter what their race is or what their religion is, but behind closed doors, like, they worshiping whatever or they sacrificing children. They had that even back then in the medieval and in the ancient world. So yeah, I think a lot of the blood drinking and they had some little stuff going on in private. They had some stuff going on.
Well, back to Christians, they say it's in the blood.
Yeah.
Wash them in the blood.
And you just pulled the
But you know
Eucharist up.
they tell us to, but they try to hit us with the voodoo is bad, hoodoo is a bad, but they practice this in a disguised way. You know what I mean? This is a spell. It's deep.
Oh yeah, the brother got the adrenochrome up there. Yeah, this is what we're dealing with right here. Yeah.
So here's what I found out about the adrenochrome situation. Have you seen the movie Monsters Inc? The little cartoon
With the
Monster.
blue monster, yeah.
Do
Oh
you
yeah,
know
What's
with
talking
the
about?
do you know who produced that?
No, no.
Harvey Weinstein. You know the
Hmm.
little fat, the little fat boss man on Monsters Inc. That's Harvey Weinstein. when let me just show you. When they was
No.
well, y'all got to pay attention to this stuff, man. This stuff is crazy, man.
It reminds me of also they got a movie called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and I think the adrenochrome is featured in that movie too.
They are showing. They are showing. They're showing you inside the capsules. That's blood. They were scaring the kids to capture the adrenochrome and put it inside the container. That's not screams. That's blood inside the
Oh,
containers.
wow. Wow. Yeah, that sounds about right. And they
That's
call it Monsters Inc.
INK. Yeah. But that's what they were doing.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting too? Because like in I believe it's the book of Jasher, but it
Mhm.
talks about when the Pharaoh put out the order to take a lot of the babies, but it said that some of his sorcerers and magicians were using the blood for medicinal reasons. So even the adrenochrome practice, like it's something to it. I'll say that because I do remember the book of Jasher. It's connected to those Egyptian, whether you want to call them medicine men or whatever, but them using the blood for medicinal reasons.
It's in the Bible.
Yeah,
In
you know,
Egypt.
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
This the Bible verse about putting blood on the doors to keep the spirits away. It's there. The blood served
so
as a token of God's protection.
right.
Which
So like,
God? What God want blood
right.
for?
Because
What?
like you said earlier with the order of Melchizedek, all that cutting goats and the blood, this and this, that's not even really included in all that. Because Jesus wasn't telling people to like to drink. Yeah,
He
it's
never
crazy.
said anything about nothing about drinking no blood, eating no blood.
He
And
did it, man.
my thing, this right here, and I'm not sure if you particularly side with the Hebrew Israelites or what your stake is. Even brother, the bro, I'm not sure what y'all stake is on this, but I remember
Mhm.
getting into it with the Hebrew Israelites a long time ago, and they got this knack for always putting Egypt down.
They do, yeah, they do, they do. I
About
noticed that.
how evil Egypt is, and they worship all these deities and rah 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 rah. I'm like, man, so why did they keep sending everybody to Egypt?
Right,
And me
right.
personally, I don't use the word believe, but I don't even use the term Hebrew to represent a people because there's not a people called Hebrew nowhere. That's not a people. It's a term that means those who crossed over. And I asked the question, before they crossed over, what were they called? The narrative of 400 years of slavery in Egypt, and they was there building. They ain't build it. If they built that, why they ain't build shit else when they got free? Then they ain't build a grass straw hut. They got all the knowledge to build a pyramid. Why they ain't build shit else? They had trouble rebuilding the temple. Why? So this narrative of a people being trapped in Egypt, being led out by Moses. This is the beginning of the Israelites supposedly when there is no Jacob yet. Why are we calling them Israelites? Why are we calling them Hebrews when Abraham himself was a Chaldean? Where is this
Well,
coming from?
I think according to the story, when Joseph's brothers put him into sold him into bondage, he ended up in Egypt, and then his station was raised in Egypt. And then Joseph's brothers and I think his father Jacob, because it was a famine, they came back to Egypt, but they didn't realize that Joseph was the a leader now. And then after they realized it, because remember Joseph had a dream of his brothers like prostrating in front of him,
Right.
and from that point, I think that the brothers stayed. Joseph died, and of course, they had to start multiplying with other Egyptian women and people that were there. And then, like you say, later on, allegedly the 400 years, that then Moses comes and gets the people out of there. But you're right, the term Israelite, I mean, it's based on the man Jacob's name when it was changed. And I'm guessing the term Hebrew, see, sometimes you'll hear people say the term Hebrew is from the name Eber, which is a son of Shem. But then you'll have people say that, well, it really is a definition to define someone crossing over. See, those are two different things now.
Hmm.
Either it's a descendant of Shem, Eber, and we just change the word into Hebrews, or it means one that crossed over, or it means both. But
No. So let's just say that these individuals in Egypt for those 400 years, they were not worshiping. There was no Hebrew religion.
Absolutely, it was not. No, it wasn't.
So, what was their? What were they doing while they were there?
Well, we get somewhat of a clue because when Moses went to the mountaintop, they constructed the golden calf. So they had to have the type of religion that the people around them had. Because you're right, there was no official national religion of the Israelites at that time. It wasn't.
The Habarus were second millennium BC social displaced non-ethical group of outlaws, mercenaries, and laborers in the Fertile Crescent. Not strictly devotees of Horus, while some fringes theorized, suggesting a connection between the Habarus and the Horite Hebrew worshippers. These are your Hebrews in Egypt, y'all. They were called Habarus or Horite Hebrews. These are the ones Moses led out of Egypt. To your point, when they got to that mountain, that storm god Bel up there that Moses was talking to, Aaron revealed to those people this golden bull calf, and Aaron said, "This is the God that brought you out of Egypt.
Right.
Not El, not uh, Adonai, not any of that stuff. This is
Right.
the one that brought you out of Egypt."
Even at that point, like there never was a time where it was declared to all the Israelite people that, hey y'all, the God name is such and such. Like it was interesting too is that a lot of the time in the Bible, the high God is really revealed to, like, it's like on an intimate, personal type of thing. Like when Moses had the burning bush encounter, no one else was around. Um, it seems like most of the time when the divinity revealed itself, it didn't reveal itself to like a massive group of people. You got some occurrences like when they saw the cloud that was, following the people when they was in the wilderness. But I don't know, it's like a lot of them prophets, when it was revealed to them, they were by themselves,
Mm,
Yeah, I
which is
think
interesting.
a lot of the gods or lesser gods in the Bible, man, it's like the demiurge. Because even in like we go to Genesis, why God had to look for Adam and Eve when he ought to know where they was at. You know what I mean? When they supposed to have been hiding. But an all knowing God supposed to, know where everybody at all time.
what
So
what
I think we could be dealing with certain levels of God versus the Almighty, because Yahweh could mean disagreeable and agreeable.
right,
Yahweh.
right.
So
You're absolutely right. Now remember what I said earlier. The and doing air quotes, the supposed Most High God, he resides in a whole nother mansion world. He don't like imagine 630,000 Earths. This we think we special on this liberty ass rock down here. That man got over 6 million little Earths to worry about. The big man do. So what
Yeah.
he does is he dispatches his sons, his creator, the sons of God, the five creator sons.
Which
They
makes, yeah,
they come out and then deal with that kind of stuff, bro. That's
which
why.
makes logical sense. Like even when you suspend like your religious maybe perspective, but like what you just said, it makes logical sense because even the Godfather sit on his throne or in his chair. You know what I'm saying? Don Corleone in the chair, but when something need to be done, he gonna send Michael Corleone or one of the other men to do it. He's
Yeah,
not getting up out the chair.
no, he gonna send one of the other bosses, other Capones
So,
to do it.
so yeah, so just
Capo,
logically, yeah, that makes sense.
one of the capos. You think about it, you
Yeah,
big time dope dealer. You ain't finna go kill nobody.
that's a fact. That's
You
a
gonna send one of
fact.
your hitters to do it.
Right, right,
Lucifer in heaven, he and Santania acting up. Big God, no, Big God gonna send his hitter. Michael
right.
is his hitter.
Facts,
Mike go handle that. God ain't
facts.
coming down here to talk to nobody. I'm gonna send my messenger. Gabriel is
Yep.
my messenger. Hey, go tell them I said. Go tell the girl, Mary. Go tell Elizabeth I said. You see what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
we can't automatically assume that in the beginning of the creation story that this is the big G
Yeah.
doing anything. The big G can snap his finger and create if he wanted to.
Right.
He can just say it, coon fire coon, and create if he wanted to.
Hmm.
This physical reality of put stuff together. The matter of fact, bro, the first time I heard the word demiurge was from you years ago. I ain't never heard the word demiurge before.
Hmm.
Then I started looking into it. I said, "Oh man, this is crazy." The
And then
demiurge is a
it made
concept, um, philosophy in the Gnosticism referring to a subordinate deity.
right.
He's
And,
responsible for fashioning and maintaining the physical universe.
and then check this out too, like, because like you said, when you quoted Malachi York, when you just read the letters for what it says and don't try to put your twist and interpretation on it, you're gonna get it right. It clearly in Genesis say that because the perspective of the demiurge, it fit the context of it telling them, look, this tree, if you eat from it, you'll know knowledge of good and evil. And this other tree, you'll be immortal. And when they ate from one tree, whoever that demiurge or the god was, he felt threatened because he said, if they eat from the tree of life, then they'll be like us.
Mm,
And from that point, they were casted out. So that meant that it didn't want them to gain immortality.
Yeah, because according to Dawson, you can look into it like even the great mother Sophia, what role does she play in
Who was supposed to
the
be
big God,
right?
narrative?
Because she's supposed to
Like
be the demiurge's mother, right? In the
that's what I said.
Gnostic.
So did big God have a big mama? Like, you know what I
You-
mean? Like
yeah,
we
I
always
see what
say,
you're
won't
saying.
he do it? But she will too. Like
Yeah,
as
mm.
above, so below. Like why are we always saying like it's
yeah,
one? Where we get to heaven to be big mama and big daddy too? Like folk gonna be real crazy. They gonna see how with two chill instead of one.
got a point.
So
You
that's my
got a point.
thing, man. I'm just saying, like we talking about bosses and different gods. Even the plug, even the big man got shorty on the side. You know what I
Yeah,
Damn,
mean? So we got to put everything in context as above, so below. So
damn, that's crazy. That's crazy. But my first time even dealing with that term demiurge for the first time, and I looked into it. I said, "Man, this is crazy."
yeah,
How
oh
when I
yeah,
introduced it to you, I was like, oh yeah, I knew you were gonna dissect it then
like
and
how
use
many
your
people?
etymology.
Oh yeah, I had to go to the etymon
I'm,
automatically go to the etymon and
I'm
find out.
gonna be I'm gonna be real with y'all, man. Like when I graduated college, because when you in college, you just studying whatever your you know thing you're going to school for. So I'm just studying accounting every day, accounting. But as soon as I graduated, and I was like, let me free my mind up and start studying some stuff I want to. The first video I ever saw that blew my mind was Bobby Hemmitt made a video, and it was called "What If the God You Serve Is the Devil?" And in that video is when I first learned about the demiurge. And that's what blew my mind open and kind of started me going down the path. So yeah, that demiurge concept, even just the fact of it, somebody being a jealous God, and some of the other things you see in there, like like the brother saying, like the most high God, it just don't seem logically like bro would be petty like that. But something lesser, he could be a little petty.
He said, "Petty." Hey, listen, family. We hit the 2 hour mark, man. I definitely
Yeah.
appreciate you guys tapping in with me, man. Hey, listen, man. Black Mirror Barrage, man. Hey, you want to shoot me a subject matter, man? You want to come on this joint and lead the pack in a conversation, man? Please feel free to do so, bro. I'm trying
Oh
to hop on
yeah.
it at least once a week, man. I would love to hear something from you.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
if y'all haven't checked this brother information out, tell them how they can find you real quick, brother. Where you located
Yeah.
at?
Yeah, the best place is just to find me on the YouTube. The channel is Blackbeard Mirage on YouTube, or you may see Red Stick Family. But that's the best place to find me on YouTube to get videos where a lot of these subjects that Brother Ponder goes into, I go into them on my own as well. But yeah, that's real good, man. Like the way you create your presentations with the PowerPoints and stuff. I think what I'll do is maybe just shoot you a topic on like, hey, bro, let's talk about just give you a subject or whatever, and then whatever slides you come up with, we can run with that. Because when I'm doing these, I like to be in that flow state. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So the way that you got the structure, it's pretty good. And plus, too, bro, the topics you be coming up with, it really be a lot of the same shit that I come up with. So it's your stuff be hard hitting, bro. So
Listen,
you know,
followers, my followers know, man. I be going light lately. Like a couple years ago, I've been up for 4 hours straight with no notes.
yeah,
Oh, see, when I was on Chrome, brother Chrome pull up to Google and he be, as I'm talking, he'll just pull across screen real quick.
right,
You know what I'm saying?
okay,
So it work a little better that way. But I kind of got in the habit of like showing people because I go 4 or 5 hours to goddamn just going in on motherfucker like da, like goddamn overload. So but yeah, just let me know. Brother DeBros, tell them how they can find you where you at. And bro, I forgot about hey, I gotta help you on this stock stuff too, man. I'm looking into it. Finally looking into it.
That's what I was going to address. You know, this information, this knowledge right here, I'm always in it. It just I don't broadcast it a lot because like you said, when I was 4 or 5 hours into just research and just digging in it and pouring into people, but I just took a step back and was like, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I seen, you know, I just stuck on my forex and investing because I seen like if people can go and get money out the way, they can focus on other things. You know what I mean? Because everybody focus on the bag and how to pay their bill, but I found the keys. You ain't got to trap sell dope no more. You learn how to when to buy low and sell high. On this chart, you can make $100 in 5 minutes or $1,000. It depending on your lot size and your leverage. So this pretty much where my energy been at. But you know, I also been working in the spiritual realm as well. So, but yeah, bro, you can find me at Can you hear me? My phone just went off.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah. The Boris Owens Senior is my Facebook. Instagram is the Boris 34.
That's what's up,
And
man.
as you can see on my page, Abundance Forex, that's the company, my Forex business.
Bet.
What I teach.
Tap in, family. We got the knowledge, the wisdom, and we got the bag, man. Appreciate y'all boys tapping with me, man. We got to do it again.
For
Whenever
sure.
y'all want to do it.
Oh, yeah.
If anybody else y'all want to bring on the platform, I can get 10 people up here, man, at one time. We can make our own little goddamn chat situation and really just.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I like the information. I wanna look up, link y'all up with Brother Rich, Black Magic.
Bring him on here, bro.
I wanna what Jacoby, bro, y'all are tap in.
Listen to me. Send me his information. It don't take all day to do nothing, bro. It's easy said than done. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, for sure.
They hit me up on the other chat. I gotta go on another live. Hey man, hold on 1 second, y'all. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm about to tap in right now. All right. Yeah, I'm being summoned to the live right now. I got to go do some other shit. But thank y'all for tapping in, man. Hey, the chat, man. My cash app is at the bottom right there, man. If y'all want send a donation or whatever the case is, appreciate it. Y'all already know. We don't need it. We need the church. We just want to get on here and get y'all information. If you pay a couple $1,000 to go to college, why not donate? You know what I'm saying? Tap in, man. Until next time, we appreciate y'all boys, man. Peace and love.
Yes.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man?